Hi everyone, Doug and Julie here with our 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E electric vehicle. Well, we finally did it. We finally went out and bought ourselves another EV. Since we bought our Mach-E in 2021, it has been our primary vehicle, and after selling our Boxster in 2022, it has been our only vehicle. And this has worked well, but we've always had thoughts on a second car. So, on August 29th of this year, we finally did it. We got our second EV. In this video, we're going to share what we got and why we got it. After we've had some more time behind the wheel, we'll come back with a proper review and tell you more about it. Before we get into the what, I want to share the why and talk about what we wanted in our new EV, and just as importantly, what we didn't want. For starters, and to clarify, I'm saying new EV, but it's really just new to us. We were always going to get a used EV. This is largely a budgetary issue. Other than a couple of years with the Mach-E, we've been car payment free for quite a while, and it's been nice. But in another sense, we wanted to put our money where our mouth is. We've been finding and sharing in our videos that modern EVs are actually very reliable and you shouldn't fear buying a used one. Well, we're going to put that to the test. The second major point of emphasis is this is a second car. When we bought the Mach-E, it needed to be our primary dual car, so it needed to be roomy enough for people and stuff, have great range, and charge at a decent speed for road tripping. But for our second car, we don't need any of that. In fact, as this would primarily be Julie's, she actually prefers a smaller car. And as we still both mostly work from home, Julie has been going into the office about once a week, we don't need great range. Even if that changes and Julie needs to go in more often, we're talking about 150 miles a week at most. And as we already have a great travel EV, we don't need one that has super fast charging because this one is pretty much only going to be charged at home, where we are already all set up. Probably the only decision we didn't have a clear answer on right up until just before buying was, should we save money and get a super cheap EV, like a $10,000 early Chevy Bolt, or spend a bit more and try to get something with more of the tech goodies like in the Mach-E? In the end, we decided to spend a little more and try to find the nicest option at the top of the federal used EV tax rebate price bracket. In other words, no more than $25,000. Which brings us to, why now? We've been making the whole one car thing work for a few years. What's changed? Well, fundamentally nothing. But a few things have kind of given us a sign that now may be the time. For starters, the aforementioned federal tax rebate for buying a used EV is ending on September 30th, and likely will never come back. If we wanted to take advantage of that, we needed to buy soon. Another thing is, one of us, and I won't say which one, backed the Mach-E into the workbench in the garage, and long story short, is going to be out of commission for a while. Of course, insurance offers a rental car, so we wouldn't be without transportation, but it did highlight something we've been gambling with for a while. What would happen if we were left carless? What would happen if one of us were out and something happened to whomever was still at home? Or what would happen if one of us had the car and something happened to them while they were out? Whoever was left at home wouldn't have a way to quickly get to the other. We're still pretty healthy and largely very safe, but this was a risk we decided we no longer wanted to take. Which brings us to the what. If we wanted a small or small-ish EV with reasonable modern tech for under $25,000, what options did we have? It turns out not as many as we'd hoped, but we boiled it down to the Hyundai Kona and the Chevy Bolt EUV. A few years ago, we test drove both of these, along with the Nissan Leaf, and really liked them. We felt the Kona was a little higher in quality, but the Bolt EUV had a little better tech. One of the key options we wanted was adaptive cruise control. Both of these vehicles offer this, but only in top-spec models, which are harder to find. Fortunately, a number of them have been coming off leases. So after an exhaustive internet search, we found some good options around our area. A few were at some of the larger dealerships, but we also found a small dealer that specializes in used EVs, and only used EVs, so we thought we'd start there. They didn't have any top-spec Konas, but they had a half dozen top-spec Bolt EUVs, all around or under 30,000 miles, and all priced just under the tax credit max. We got there right when they opened, checked them all out, and long story short, we ended up with this 2022 Chevy Bolt EUV Premier in Summit White with a gray interior, and only 25,209 miles. Other than a few scuffs on the wheels and a few scratches on the interior, this EUV is in excellent shape, so we were happy to pay the $24,801 asking price. Good thing, because there was no wheeling and dealing on these. The price is the price, and there was a line of customers behind us if we didn't want it. Literally. And don't tell me interest in EVs is dying. There were a dozen other shoppers and 4 actual buyers at this small dealership in just the couple hours we were there. Good thing we got there early. But I digress. So just to share, with the used EV tax credit, the price came down to $20,801 plus fees. So with a couple $1,000s as down payment, we were out the door comfortably under $20,000. We're financing for 60 months and our payments are under $400. We plan to pay it off early, but probably not as fast as the Mach-E. So how do we like it? Well, as mentioned earlier, we plan to do a proper review after spending a little more time behind the wheel, but first impression is overall very good. And other than the stress of being in debt again, we're feeling very happy about our purchase. Julie just loves the size and feels a little bit more comfortable driving this than the larger Mach-E. And we're both having fun learning about the Bolt's quirks and features. We can see this being in our stable for many years to come. And yes, we plan to do videos on this car as well, but probably not as many as with the Mach-E. Our EV learning curve is leveling off and we probably won't travel in this one. But we've got a few topics we want to cover, and of course we'll keep up with annual updates and anything else interesting that happens during our ownership. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment below. What should we call this series? The Bolt Files? The EUV episodes? We'll figure something out. But in the meantime, happy motoring!